Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of August the 5th till 11th, 2024. We have quite an intense week ahead of us, and this is because just a day before, on the 4th of August, we have a very energetic new moon in the sign of Leo that urges us in almost a literal sense. And of course, this is when I mean urge, an inner urge or a more like a divine urge which comes into play through inner forces, obviously, but what triggers that might be something that we perceive and interpret, but not necessarily in a strictly mental way, but rather through the heart, if this even makes sense. But this is very, very important because usually a Leo season with Leo energy and the new moon conversing so beautifully with Jupiter, the benefic, right? And also, we can also consider Mars to have conversed with the new moon. So that adds a lot of energy because the sun is at home. Mars likes being in the sign of Leo. So there is a strong synergy between the sun and Mars, the two combustive planets, right? And then Jupiter expands all of this and adds a good dose of, Gemini hopefulness or Gemini like lightheartedness. So that kind of represents a typical Leo new moon that we would expect feeling wise. However, and I'm so sorry to break the bubble, there are some minor aspects on one hand that do go strongly against the elation, even though the elation, the optimism, the creativity, the inner child's energy is without a doubt part of all of it, has to be part. Hence the urge. We have no choice but to include it. We cannot choose the opposite, the stress, the tension, and the uncertainty. I'm not gonna detail the minor aspects here, but that is the big picture of what they're telling us. Okay, the elation, the fervor of the Leo energy, right? And new moon as well. And then Jupiter helps a great deal. And erratic Neptune makes the dreaminess of it, the faithfulness of it, that much stronger. We really are very likely to serve on these voters of belief, let's say it like that, that Neptune provides. But this is also the positive expression. So, yes, of course. However, the minor aspects which stress out and cause a bit of permanent reality check are actually balancing this out because we are aware that we really need the all the good, all the positivity, all the creativity of that Leo new moon, non-optionally, because in a certain way, Leo Aquarius exits, right, of our future, the future that we want to love, that we want to live, kind of depends on it. So this is where, yes, it's positive, but at the same time, there's a very strong reality check at play, a permanent reality check. And this permanent reality check is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger as we progress the week. And this will, in a way, live simultaneously with the typical Leo energy. Because all throughout the week, the sun keeps the sextile alive with Jupiter and Mars. So it has fuel, it has power, it has motivation, and this is also where that motivation, what is that motivation? It can be, well, a bit frightening, for example, survival, but at the same time it doesn't have to be panic mode, fear mode, anxiety, but rather I know that I'm gonna be okay. I know that I'll make it through. I know that what I'm building is going to stand. So again, this is where the hope, optimism, faith is again very needed here. It's optional because Gemini, right? But in a wisdom type of way, from a what is the wise thing to do perspective, it's non-optional because we really need to put it to the table. And this is where it gets a bit complex because this is not where we can just, how should I say, grab onto that Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, as in the mind is full of Jupiterian elements. True, what is not true, justice, righteousness, creativity, the nobility of thought, the principles, the philosophies, the blessing in social connections, sharing information, self expression, especially through Gemini words and even nonverbal communication, you know. So all of these are definitely there. Jupiter provides these, but the square that it keeps on building and building, keeps on getting exact all throughout the week. Not that it won't get this week exact yet. That is the theme of the 19th of August, when it's not just the square, but there is a T square type of Aquarius full moon where it actually T squares its ruler Uranus. So, oh boy, that's gonna be something major, especially because moon in Aquarius, the collect, how we feel collectively, and not just about the present, but also about the close and imminent future Aquarius, right? So there's that, but this week that, so including what's gonna be um, highlighted very intensely on the 19th of August, or what is gonna come to completion, fruition, full moon, right? The surprise factor, well, this week already builds it. Not just quantumly speaking, as in the quantum strings get entangled, which will, is like a chain event where fate will simply cascade from that, the course of fate. And but remember, course of fate, right? But the course of fate will depend on our options, choices, Gemini energy. But that's also how quantum entanglement works. Our choices will lead the way to the entanglement. And our choices will be based on what we believe Jupiter, but also Saturn in the sign of Pisces, the truth and truthfulness, the solidity of our beliefs. So this means a permanent reality check, because we have Jupiter's hopefulness and Gemini, which is very receptive. But this is where the Piscean energy with Saturn, the reality factor being in it, our hopes, what we believe in, our sense of justice, what we ultimately want to accomplish, the big picture that we are not just analyzing, processing, but also co-building. Gemini, Jupiter and Mars in Gemini, the plan, the schematics for the close future, the modus operandi. So not just the dream, but also the journey, roughly the estimate of the journey there. That's Gemini, but then there's Saturn that has to be aligned with either one's truth or reality, or it cannot go against down to earth logic, but neither can very stark down to earth logic prevent one living their dream if that dream is without a doubt fated, or it has a strong Saturnian sacrifice attached to it, as in something was done to make it real, even if that within a person, within one's own psyche, Pisces, or in spirit in a larger sense. So where I'm going with this is it's also a really, really karmic energy, a really, really karmic week. So sometimes the reality check and the reality factor is dished out by karmic forces, as in, this is the truth, your truth, based on what fate mirrors and fated events mirror. So, but on the other hand, from a more down to earth perspective, the Jupiter and Saturn square are gonna come and maybe a bit overwhelm us informationally, but at the same time, they can overwhelm us not necessarily just exteriorly, where Jupiter in Gemini would have that, or that's the uh, more the likeliness of it, because Gemini is our connections and travels, and we speak, we share a communication, information, our friends, then so on. Um, so that is more exterior, where Pisces can be interior, because what if this energy plays out as a symbolically an explosion, a boom of epiphanies, realizations, certain things dawning upon you, especially about the past, distant past, traumas offering themselves to be healed, for example. But in order for us to heal a trauma, we need to adjust our mindset, mentality, and what we think of those events now compared to how we processed them back then. Again, a beautiful example of Gemini Pisces square, especially with Jupiter and Saturn in it. And we must not forget that in the big picture, this is the opening square of the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in December 2020. Something was highlighted in your life, internally or externally, about a worldview, a personal paradigm of something that you believe in, a vision, a way of perception, a personal philosophy, how you envisage your future for Aquarius, or where you belong to, what would you want for yourself for the future, anything like this. In this first opening square, that is being shaped and formed, adjusted, aligned to the truth in your life and in your heart, based on who you became, how you evolved from that 2020 on until the present moment. So this square aligns that energy and is the first milestone. So of course it's tricky. Of course it will be based on a lot of knowing oneself, one's honesty with the self, one's inner truth. And when I say inner truth, in this case, it's not even that big elevated and a big inflated spiritually meaning, where to be at one with the cosmos and almost like ridiculously what one expects is to be on the level of the Buddha, to be at one with, not that, but in a very down to earth way, as in to know what life is for you personally, what this life is for you personally, how this incarnation treats you, and what's it about. Again, this is not the having everything figured out type of energy, even though that is one of the challenges. That's a desire, that's a want. I want to have everything figured out. That's the devil. No, we don't need to have everything figured out. We just need to feel. The feeling is the biggest key element here. In a realistic way, Saturn in Pisces as well, it cannot be a big delusion. It has to be our own inner truth. It has to be feel very, very truthful, real, personal, for who it is that we are, as if we are living in our truth. For example, that truth can be that nothing that I have in my life right now can serve me because it's no longer who I am, yet I couldn't find anything that resonates with me yet. This can be a big truth and reality. But this is where the Piscean energy will come into play. This is the, let's say, this is the Jupiter in Gemini, right? How things are. A perception of the present. But then there is Saturn in Pisces telling you through your wisdom, all your lived experiences in the past, when fate proved to you her courses in the past, the big moments in your life, that no problem. Things are being created as we speak. Just because you don't resonate with anything right now, wait a year or two, because this is the age of quantum leaping, right? A new industry can appear overnight. So, and replace new industry analogy with anything you'd like. New spiritual path, new whatever you'd like. Actually, I'm not even going to get into example. Job, modus operandi, invention, whatever that can just appear overnight. So be patient. This is one example of how it may play out in one's life based on the truth, but that truth is real. Real in the sense that it respects the person's core essence, core inner truth, and real that logically, rationally, it's real in the now. But the truth of that can set us free in a big way. So this is the essence of the Jupiter and Saturn square. And in a more practical way, yes, let's say I have a plan. I am going for something. Something is work in progress, but I need to adapt it. Even if the energy of this period or the energy of the coming years, a few years, is going to be unreliable, as in up and down. Today is very prosperous, tomorrow scarcity, or especially when you have a business, when you have a work, any type of work, or when you have something that you need to build, Saturn, or even something that you need to terminate, close, end, complete, also Saturn. You would want things to be reliable, but this energy can show you the truth. This is, and this meaning, whatever truth you reach, this is the way it's going. Adapt to this in this and this way, you personally, because this is mutable energy. It asks us to find a way for a major adaptation. It asks us for a big improvisation in our lives, to find the right way to go with the flow, even if that will require sacrifices, self-discipline, and going back and forth. So I'm so very sorry for this long introduction, but this week is an organic and important part of this. At the same time, also what is going to be specific to this week, Mercury retrograde season in full swing. The beginning, the opening of it. Also this week, Mercury in the retrograde period makes a key move. It conjuncts Venus in the sign of Virgo. So this is strong evaluation energy. Do I love it? But it's not the typical do I love it Venus, because it is Virgo, so it has to be real, useful, and if not, it's criticized. It's hair split, especially that the ruler retrograde is also here. So nothing escapes our symbolically scanners in a very down-to-earth practical way. The price, is it worth it? The usefulness, the anything in a very, very practical way, including things that we are thinking about, that we are prospecting, Mercury retrograde season, a job, a career choice, a professional. We want to get something done. Who do I go to? All of these are very specific to Virgo because Virgo is service. So also the professionals who give you the service, the dentist, the doctor, the masseur, the astrologer, the cleaner, the plumber, you get what I mean. Even in a non-official way, which one of my friends, for example, is most skilled at this and that? So finding the right worker or the right modus operandi to execute something. So we are thinking, analyzing, weighing the options. About weighing the options, Black Moon, Lilith, and Libra, freshly entered. So this is where we really hair split right now, because Black Moon and Libra is where we want to get it maximally perfect as possible. So Venus and Mercury's meeting is definitely going to be a key moment to answer. Do I love him, he, she, it, whatever? Is it worth it? Or something about value, something about a Venusian theme seen from a very stark, down to earth, Virgo like perspective. Because we must not forget, this is the part of the sky where Venus is not very comfortable. She's not her romantic, idealistic, philosophical self, but rather the opposite. Looking at everything through a very, let's say, scorpionic lens. Why Scorpio? Because Scorpio is the laser that narrows down, and and Scorpio is the other sign where Venus is not so very romantic, so to speak. But before it, at the very beginning of the week, on the 5th, Venus makes this very important key move, exiting the sign of Leo and entering the sign of Virgo. So with this, let's begin the horoscope. Why is this Venus move important? At 29 degree of Leo, she holds the quincunx with Neptune. At 0 degree of Virgo, she holds the quincunx with Pluto. So this is almost like a finger of God aspect, a yod aspect. But this yod aspect is not just tied down to Venus, because we must look at the behavior of the planets. Mercury held this before it went retrograde. So an issue was already raised, especially something where it needs both Leo the heart and also the analytical mind, the heavy processor mind, Virgo. So we are consulting both of this. So Mercury already, one way or another, sets the theme. What is worth it, what is not. Then comes Venus, the value system and what we love, and she is consulted the same way. After Venus will come the moon, roughly the same way, or the day after the moon. But of course, the moon is very quick moving, so the moon's quincunx will only last a few hours. But still, it comes the moon. The moon, it's almost like reinforces Venus. Whatever Venus felt, the moon, the larger emotional world, right? Well, it sinks in. and much later on at the very end of Leo season and the beginning of Virgo. So we are speaking about 22nd, 23rd of August, something like that. Sun will do the exact same thing. Just that we must not forget that Pluto himself is starting to move back into that 29 degree of Capricorn. So by the time Mercury later on in September will go through its shadow path direct, it will hold the third quincunx with Pluto at 29 degrees of Leo. So I would, in a large sense, whatever we analyze, whatever comes to our awareness, whatever we weigh this week, emotionally, value-wise, rationally as well, how to execute it, we may only have the final answers or the final, this is how I think and feel about it, somewhere around, let me just check if I can give you like a rather approximate date. 9th of September is when we can expect a much greater deal of clarity with whatever our hearts and minds are weighing right now. Where does this 29 degree Leo, 0 degree of Virgo fall in your chart? We also have a fixed star at that degree, Regulus. So this means that on the world stage, I'm not even, I have to mention it? On one hand, one way how this plays out in a literal way, for example, Trump and assassination investigation. What is true, what is not true, the Gemini Pisces square. But with the Mercury quincunxes, big, big milestones in the investigation, but each milestone thickens the mystery rather than to clarify it. So this is just an example. And then anything on the world stage where decisions and big contemplations or financial elements or do we intervene or not are being decided right now. There we go. Individually, however, well, it can be anything, a relationship, anything. And remember that Pluto's retrograde, it can be even something that stems from the past. We're trying to make sense of something or work with something. So again, this is a very powerful soul searching, but rather heart searching energy. We're trying to come up with answers of how we feel, and based on that, what value takes something, someone, an inner or outer element in our lives. But simultaneously, because this is rather serious, right? This is an energy that really makes us think and contemplate heavily. Fortunately, we have the Mars, Sun, Jupiter, Sun sextile. This means, we're contemplating something, but besides that, there might be so very many things going on in our lives that need our immediate attention, an immediate creativity, an immediate whatever. This sextile helps us with the immediate, to find the resources, to find the time, to find the strength, to find the energy, to find the inner power, let's say, or the mental power to work with what we have flowing, ongoing in our lives right now. Because, of course, there is in everyone's life, a strong, let me just name it, philosophical energy unfolding. Things that are unfolding around us, not just in our personal lives, but around us everywhere in everyone's life, make all of us think about the bigger things, philosophically at least, if not spiritually. That's why I used philosophy, because not for everyone is closely linked to, I don't know, fate and karma. For some people is just how the collective way of thinking, philosophy, right, is executing. And that is a more than valid point of view, because yes, absolute, that's what's happening. Anyway, there is that part, and simultaneously there is the everyday life, especially the things that we need right now. We need to work with a lot of things. Communication, Jupiter in Gemini is overflooding us with opportunities, friends, people, activities, projects, ideas, invitations, travel. Let's do this, let's do that. Speaking about travel, Mercury retrograde, we all know that is notorious for disrupting travel. However, the sextile Jupiter Mars have with the Sun is a really good coping energy. Going, finding our way around the blockages, or however Mercury disrupts travel. So we definitely have a good celestial help with the sextile to be ingenious. Somehow we'll find solutions to our problems and the way around blockages. Now, moving on a bit, on the 6th, the moon conjoins Mercury and Venus, which means it adds the emotional dimension. We are strongly figuring things out in both ways, both the big picture that Pluto in Aquarius personally for us, that big desire, dream, the future that we need to be starting to step into more and more each day and working, building towards that. There's that, but also the immediate present. So the emotion is there. How should I say? We are amped up, ambitioned up, fueled up to put our minds truly to work, even in a Venusian way and even in a lunar way. You know what I mean? So we're really, really burning our processor neurons, firing up our mental energy all throughout the week due to this conjunction. And also, uh, not just the conjunction itself, but also the other energies that support it. The very recent new moon is definitely one of them, creational, strong creational energy. Moving on to the 7th. On the 7th, we have Sun and Jupiter sextile perfecting. Sun and Jupiter both respectively being at 15 degrees. I'm not going to speak a lot about this because the opportunity, the problem solving, the help we get from friends, good ideas, communication, we're adapting, we're coping, we're using what we can. And this is also joyous energy because this can also offer us moments of joy, moments of pleasure, moments of respite, well deserved respite. And this is so very symbolic of the Olympic Games. On one hand, playful energy, Mars competition, and how that unites people, unites cultures, unites souls. So, absolutely, there's that as well. But of course, there's I can't unfortunately leave this out. There's the not so nice side of this energy as well. And that is where, well, Jupiter and Mars conjunction getting closer and closer this week, Mars is war, Mars is aggression. Mars in Gemini, there's a typical expression that every fan of astrology knows. Mental power, communication, let's figure things out, verbal battles, discussions, sometimes even aggression, like fist fight, contradictions, my opinion, your opinion, my truth, your truth, my intelligence versus your intelligence. But usually this is a moderate energy. But there's a side of Gemini which is infinitely cruel. Gemini potentially is one of the cruelest signs of the zodiac. In which sense? Usually 99.99% of the time it's not, and doesn't want to be that. But the darkest side of Gemini is then once, that one moment, or in that one situation, or when something aligns in a dark way, it can take cruelty to the next level, where it can even leave certain signs that should be grandmasters of it, like Scorpio. Then there's Pisces. It can leave those signs speech, and even Aries. Just that Aries never plans it. Aries is the spontaneous reaction, the craze of the moment. But what Gemini can do, can even, but it just that it doesn't happen. It's a potential. It very, but we must not forget that Mars meeting Jupiter can bring out that very rare exotic Jupiterite expression of it. So where I'm going with this, war, where people who are playing the games of war are ignoring every rule, Jupiter, and causing incomprehensible cruelty that will, without a shadow of a doubt, be part of the collective expression of the Jupiter-Saturn square Y. Well, Jupiter the benefic, right? Gemini, everyone's equal, and Saturn will tell us from Pisces. Is it? Look at what's happening. Is it? So this is it will create change, will create movement, will create the urgent need to actually make something be in a down-to-earth way, Saturn, fair and righteous, based on Pisces, the collective, all of us are one, the collective morality, the morality of human species as a collective, regardless of nation and region. So this will be the square, the theme of the square. But the awareness part is that we will see something very not nice play out. And at the Aquarian full moon, T-square Uranus, the shock factor of it. And that is big shock factor because Uranus rules Aquarius. So, and this will take place at 27 degree, which means that 27 degree of Leo Aquarius axis. Leo is gonna, the sun is gonna be conjunct some rather angry fixed stars, if I can use the symbolism. The moon is gonna be conjunct a very revolutionary fixed star. Uranus is gonna have certain trans-Neptunian objects along with him. So, and if we want to include all of the fixed energy, Scorpio, there is yet another trans-Neptunian object in Scorpio, making this a grand cross if we really want it to be. However, the good news, this is the energy where it breaks down any resistance. So change usually follows big time. This is the energy of massive change. This is where, the tower in tarot, when even the impossible, that which is 100% fortified, the citadel which no one ever could besiege before, well, even that is besieged by the divine. So this is, all of this is not now, right? But this is being foreshadowed. So what I wanted to say originally with this, the Jupiter Mars conjunction and the sextiling with the sun, for us individually and for 99% of the cases, is blessing empowerment, but we must also be aware that it empowers the eruption that we will likely experience on the 19th of August as well, whatever that means, because the dynamo of the heart is being accelerated. It's spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning faster and faster and faster until it gets quantum, and then something detonates. So the collective feeling is triggering, getting near the trigger point. That's what I wanted to say. The energy is building up big time here. On the 8th, we have Lionsgate, the so-called very notorious Lionsgate. And I would also like to wish Daniel a very happy solar return birthday. But what is notorious about, I do believe that usually, Lionsgate, the download, and let's bathe in the sun's light, the divine download, the sun is at its strongest and it blesses us with its creational energy. Yes, yes, we receive and siesta. This Lion Gates, however, I really, really suggest that it is us who become the sun and pump all of our love into whatever it is that we love ultimately, because that is going to be equivalent of us pumping our love, our highest love, into the soul world matrix. So it has to manifest. So rather than just receiving, let us be the givers this time, because these are times that no one ever experienced before, not even the ancients. So let us be the sun right now, and let us pump all of our warmth and love into the matrix of the world, our world, the future that we are co-creating. And also on the 8th, well, on one hand, we have the Mercury and Venus conjunction, the moment when we are thinking about solutions, evaluating things, and also trying out things, what it is that I can work with, what it is that I cannot work with. So trial and error, experimentation. We are in the midst of Mercury retrograde, doing our best, especially that Mercury is not fast yet. It is very slow. It needs to pick up a bit of speed. It's still it only moved a degree until the 8th. So, yes, and the conjunction with Venus, I spoke about this in greater detail in the introduction. Do I love it? Or how do I love it? What do I do with my love? Etc., etc. But there is a minor aspect that it makes things a bit more complicated, especially in feeling. Jupiter holds a square and a half, so a sesquiquadrate with Pluto. Collectively speaking, well, how this plays out is kind of easy to guess. There is a grave injustice which is felt collectively. Pluto, retrograde in Aquarius, aiming for that 29 degree of Capricorn, top-down authority. So what top-down authority cannot solve, cannot fix, or is doing wrong? A sense of grave injustice, Jupiter in Gemini, that everyone is speaking about and everyone is demanding to be looked at. And that can be such a big theme for Pluto when it goes back into 29 degree of Capricorn in September, so just around the corner. And needless to say, the full moon in Aquarius, super full moon, super, very physically closer to the Earth. So again, we are in for some tension. Then on the 10th, moving on, we have the Sun holding a quincunx with Saturn. This is the quincunx where the Leo vibe, the creation, the creativity, the creational energy, and again, that we need to fuel our hearts with passion, with a good dose of optimism. The inner child needs to be there, but we have to do all of this when life is very, very hard. And don't understand this necessarily in a personal perspective, from a personal perspective and from a personal way, but rather the times that we are living in. This is, in a modern way, the equivalent of the Great Depression. If you look at Uranus, for example, we are living it in a different way, but life is hard right now for everyone, because life is hard for the collective. But shouldn't it be when we are truly living through change of times, but when it's not some kind of prophecy, when it's unfolding before our eyes every single day and every single hour? So it's not an easy thing to be alive right now today, especially when you're aware and you're in the now, when you're immersed in your incarnation. It's not a very easy energy, regardless of your life setup. You may not have any dire whatever, something in your life which is like a dragon that you have to wrestle down. Your life might be more or less flowy, but that doesn't absolutely mean that it's easy for you, because you're part of the world change. It can still be insanely hard, because the more quiet your life is, the more you share the collective feeling. So it's not easy. And this is why I specified for those people who have awareness in their lives, because there are many people who are totally oblivious. And I'm not saying to the doom and gloom that's happened, not, no, we're not speaking about the doom and gloom. We're speaking about the world change. We're speaking about that the future is, in a quantum sense, writing itself before our eyes. We cannot be blind to this. Because why? We are living building blocks of it, components of it. Our states, our everything, our thoughts, our everything matters in that. So this is why it's so, and Saturn quincunx the Sun. This is what it uh, invites us to consider, that Sun in Leo, the strong individual and self-centered energy, my universe. And then there comes Saturn in Pisces, all of us are one. The self is just an illusion. But at the same time, the sun in Leo, I'm immersed in my story and my universe. Anything else apart from that is the illusion. And both of this is true at the same time. Hence the quincunx. We kind of need to give it a personal meaning, because otherwise, and this is also a mini odd, the moon points at Saturn from Libra in the quincunx as well. So this 10th of August might be a big philosophical way when some bigger truth comes from our relationships as well. And finally, 11th, the last day of the week. Well, we can see on the 11th that the Jupiter and Saturn square is very strong by now. Jupiter at 16 degrees of Gemini, Saturn at 18 of Pisces. But Jupiter only needs to move 1 degree forward. Saturn only needs to move 1 degree back, and their square is by the degree perfected. So it's already pretty much there. We're feeling it, and we must not forget Mars. Mars, on one hand, expands this. Mars and Saturn are the two malefics. So whenever they converse in a square, this is where I'm more worried about Mars's part rather than just Jupiter and Saturn themselves alone. Because Mars is the aggression, Mars is the malefic, Mars is the fuse that ignites the boom. Mars with Saturn together, ignoring their signs, can many times mean a militaristic energy when they square Mars and Saturn, enforcing the law. Or vice versa, going against enforcing the law. Fights, protests, for what? What for? Well, Gemini. Either a big information is released and it's viral, because Gemini rules media, or Pisces. Something really stirred up collective emotion, or the even darker sides of Pisces, religion or the past. What happened in history? Something causes big disruption, unrest. Again, Mars, the upcoming Mars, Saturn square, feisty, militaristic energy. But we must not forget Saturn in Pisces, where the ruler Neptune is also home and erratic at the gate. This is also karmic. So things are stirring up. Things are getting heated. Big time. So that's why we have the power of the Leo sun, but the uneasiness of the world change and transformation, especially when we're getting close again, yes, again, to the eye of the storm, or maybe the very heart, the center of the maelstrom, because Saturn in Pisces, this is also sea, water, ocean, and the militaristic part also on water and ocean, conflict on water, Saturn. So yeah, it's heating up. It's definitely getting there. And another interesting energy that I would like to speak about as the closure, Jupiter is gonna hold the square with Saturn, as I said, from around 17 degree of Gemini, where a very interesting asteroid is gonna hang around named Phaeton. Phaeton, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. The son of Helios, who has a very tragic story. When he came to age, he went to his father to be recognized. Father recognized him. And Phaeton asked his father just one thing, just for once, to be able to drive the chariot, right? The sun. The sun as it travels through the sky in the daytime. And Helios tried to convince him that no, you can't do it. I'm the only being who can manage because I was designed for that, not because I'm special, but he couldn't convince his son not to do it. So, okay, the moment came, and you can imagine that he couldn't manage, and the chariot went back and forth, and the two horses, or the horses, could not be really contained, so it caused a lot of natural calamities. Big areas of permafrost at certain places, scorching deserts, and big heat in other places. And then it also upset the balance of the stars. So Zeus had a lot of complaints. Jupiter, right? Jupiter, Zeus. And he could not do anything else but solve the situation instantly. So he shot down with a single lightning bolt the young driver, who died instantly. But you can see where that his tragic fate, where his biggest dream and desire and living with his birthright was his downfall. And this is so Jupiter, the birthright, right? Jupiter. What is your right? And also, but the wisdom of it, maybe what he trained a lifetime with his father, and then one fated day he could have managed somehow, but he couldn't wait. So premature action leads to catastrophe, leads to a bad ending. But at the same time, remember the birthright. If you demand something that is your right, Jupiter will give it to you, but that can be your undoing. So wisdom is so much needed in everything in life right now and in the following days. But at the same time, Jupiter's example, the divine will take care of something that maybe nothing and no one else can take care of, because maybe non-intervention is the birthright. So it is up to the divine to make some kind of justice, to find a middle path. So this is a very tricky energy. So again, my advice, we don't need to have everything figured out. We don't need to know everything. Sometimes the biggest blessing and truth is that we simply don't know. We don't have it figured out, but that's okay, because many times faith is stronger when knowledge is simply not there at all. No, that saying, believing in everything and knowing nothing at all. That is the state of innocence, the power of children, Leo, and the power of children. Well, let me just give you a Fatima miracle. In Spain or Portugal. Sorry. But anyway, it's tied to children. The power of children brought that forth. So the power of children can literally even turn mountains upside down if needed. So this is exactly what this energy is telling us. Sometimes not knowing and not having everything figured out and not being able to trust anything earthly can be the biggest blessing of them all. And that is a truth in itself. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for all the beautiful comments that I received on Nadia's channel. And wishing you a blessed uh, new new moon today in the sign of Leo. Again, what I said, let us use this power of intention and love to make the world what it needs to be, a portal of love and growth and, prosperity and spirit and innocence, of course. Thank you again. Until next time. Bye for now.